Hey man, there's something almost supernatural about the kind of man who doesn't need to raise his voice, explain himself, or beg for affection, because his very presence shifts the emotional atmosphere. Women can sense it, they feel it before they can describe it. He doesn't chase, he doesn't react, he doesn't even speak, and yet she can't get him out of her mind. Why? Because the most powerful emotional influence doesn't come from what you say, it comes from how you carry yourself when you say absolutely nothing at all. Violence, when used the right way, is not absence, it's domination. In this video, you're about to learn exactly how to use that silence to pull her emotions into your orbit without saying a single word. 1. Your stillness is her chaos. When you're calm, when you don't flinch, when you sit in silence without the need to fill the air with explanations or jokes or charm, she feels it. Stillness creates contrast, and in relationships, contrast is emotional gravity. If she's used to men reacting, chasing, trying to fix everything the moment there's tension, then your silence becomes a mirror. It forces her to sit with her own emotions, and the more you remain unshaken, the more she spirals inward. She begins to wonder what you're thinking, why you're not reacting, what she did wrong, and that's when emotional control shifts to you. 2. Eye contact over dialogue. You don't need to tell her how confident you are. You show her by holding eye contact when she's emotional, frustrated, or testing you. Don't look away. Don't fidget. Don't fill the moment with nervous laughter. Just look calmly, solidly, like nothing she could say would shake the ground beneath your feet. That gaze plants a seed in her mind. It says, I'm not intimidated by your chaos. And the more you remain composed, the more her emotional energy flows toward you, seeking validation, seeking your attention, seeking permission to feel safe again. 3. The power of walking away first. You don't yell, you don't argue, you don't beg. When things get heated, you leave, calmly, respectfully. You don't storm out like a child. You withdraw like a man who knows the value of his energy. The silence after you walk out speaks louder than any lecture. It tells her, I don't fight for attention. I don't compete with drama. I don't reward emotional outbursts with emotional investment. That move triggers a primal emotional response, because deep down, she knows she's not the one in control anymore. You are. And she'll either level up to meet your energy or spiral into regret. 4. Minimal reaction equals maximum mystery. When you react too quickly to her words, you give away your power. When you stay silent, just observing with a calm expression, you force her to guess. That guessing creates uncertainty, and uncertainty is the root of obsession. The man who doesn't react instantly is the man she can't predict, and when she can't predict you, she can't stop thinking about you. Emotional control begins the moment you master your facial expressions. A neutral face is a weapon. It lets her fill the silence with her own imagination, and that's when you become the one inside her mind. 5. Your slow movements create emotional weight. Fast movements signal nervous energy. Slow, deliberate movements signal control. When you walk into a room slowly, when you sit without fidgeting, when you take your time before responding, you're telling her, without saying a word, that you're in command of your emotions. And because you're in command of your emotions, you become the anchor for hers. She might not even know why she feels drawn to you, but she'll feel it. That magnetic calmness is addictive, because in a world full of anxious men, you're the rare presence that actually soothes her nervous system. 6. Holding space without rushing to fix. When she vents, complains, or breaks down emotionally, the average guy tries to fix it, but the high-value man listens without judgment, without interruption, and most importantly, without trying to fix her. Just holding the space without rushing in sends a signal. Your emotions don't scare me. I'm not here to rescue you, I'm here to witness you. That witnessing, done in silence, creates emotional dependency. She begins to associate your presence with clarity, grounding, and safety. And she'll chase that feeling, even if she doesn't understand why. 7. Strategic absence creates emotional presence. Disappearing without explanation, after giving her a taste of your energy, is one of the most powerful silent moves you can make, not as a game, but as a discipline. When you're always available, your presence loses emotional weight. But when you create distance after high emotional engagement, her mind can't help but replay the moments. She starts to question herself. Did I say something wrong? Did I lose him? That self-doubt creates a loop of emotional re-engagement, and all of it without a single word from you. 8. The silence after attraction builds tension. Right after a flirty moment or a deep connection, most men rush to capitalize, texting more, calling more, chasing the next high. But the man who leans back instead of in creates emotional suspense. That silence after connection isn't emptiness, it's bait. It gives her mind time to miss the moment, crave the attention, and wonder what you're thinking. That wondering, it's emotional glue. And it makes her chase, not because of what you did, but because of what you didn't do. 9. Your attention becomes a reward. When your default mode is silence and observation, every moment you do speak becomes powerful. Every glance, every nod, every subtle smile feels like a reward. Women are emotional pattern seekers. If she can't figure out why you're not constantly validating her like other guys, she'll try harder. She'll dress differently, speak softer, reach out more, just to get a reaction. And that shift, it's when the control flips. Now she's the one chasing. All because you didn't hand your attention out like candy. 10. The art of saying less with your body. Every movement you make is part of a silent language. Crossing your arms, leaning back, breaking eye contact at just the right moment. These all tell her things. They say, I'm not here to impress you. You haven't earned my full attention yet. And that triggers the chase. Because nothing pulls a woman's emotions tighter than the feeling that she hasn't figured you out. And your body, when used strategically, speaks that mystery fluently. 11. She's addicted to what you withhold. Most men give too much too soon, too much attention, too much explanation, too much energy. But the man who withholds, who lets her feel the gap, becomes unforgettable. Why? Because the human mind fixates on the unfinished, the unexplained, the unavailable. She'll replay the last time you looked at her, the way you walked away without a word, the way you didn't react when she tried to get under your skin. It's not what you give her, it's what you deny her that creates the emotional hook. Every man gives her comfort. Be the one who gives her craving. 12. The energy in your silence creates emotional dominance. When she's speaking rapidly, trying to get a reaction out of you, whether through anger, flirtation, or manipulation, your silence is more than just quiet, it's power. Every second you stay calm and still, while she scrambles to pull emotion from you, you climb higher in her psychological frame. Your silence creates a hierarchy, and she subconsciously accepts that you're in the lead. That's how leaders communicate, without desperation, without words, just presence. And once she sees you as the emotional leader, she can't help but surrender more of her emotional investment to you. 13. Silence after a test amplifies your strength. Women will test your confidence. They'll poke, provoke, and push, not to destroy you, but to feel you. They want to know, are you really who you say you are? When you respond with silence instead of defensiveness, she gets her answer, because nothing screams weakness like over-explaining yourself. But a man who hears her jab and simply smirks or says nothing at all becomes untouchable. That silence is her proof that you're not like the rest. And it's the moment she starts chasing your emotional approval instead of trying to sabotage it. 14. Your detachment speaks volumes. When she pulls away, withdraws, or plays games to get your attention, the average man panics, but not you. You remain detached, not cold, but indifferent. And that quiet, graceful indifference causes internal chaos in her. She expects a reaction. She expects you to run after her, but you don't. You observe. You continue your day. That's when the seed of doubt grows in her mind. Did I lose him? And when that doubt blooms, she starts emotionally chasing. All because you didn't say a word. 15. Space is not absence, it's pressure. Creating space between you and her is not passive, it's a deliberate pressure tactic. When you suddenly stop texting as much, stop giving her endless compliments, or pull back from conversations, you're applying a silent pressure that forces her to feel your absence. And the more intense your presence was before that pullback, the more powerful the silence becomes. You become the echo in her head. The space isn't empty, it's full of her own thoughts about you. That's how you control her emotions without lifting a finger. 16. You're not mysterious, you're unreadable. Mystery fades when revealed, but unreadability, that's eternal. When she can't read what you're feeling, when she can't predict your next move, her emotional brain goes into overdrive. She imagines, she projects, she becomes emotionally invested in solving you, because your silence doesn't match her experiences. Every other man has tried to prove himself to her. You stay calm, detached, and silent, and that makes her feel something far deeper than attraction. It makes her obsessed. 17. The pause before speaking is your throne. When she asks you a question and you pause, not because you're unsure, but because you're choosing your words, you assert dominance. That pause makes her lean in. It forces her to wait, and in that waiting, she experiences tension. That microsecond of uncertainty before your answer gives your words more weight than any man who speaks too quickly. You control the pace of the interaction, not by speaking more, but by making her hang on every silence. 18. The cold shoulder is psychological warfare. There's a difference between ignoring and strategically withdrawing. When she disrespects you, disrespects your time, or plays games, you don't argue, you don't punish, you remove your energy, not out of anger, but out of preference. And that cold shoulder, that silence, it burns more than any insult ever could. It tells her, you're not worth a reaction right now. And in that moment, her self-worth is placed on trial. She starts to question whether she still matters to you. And in trying to answer that question, she becomes emotionally hooked. 19. Stillness in the face of her storm. She cries, she yells, she throws emotional grenades into the conversation. But you stay grounded, you breathe slowly, you observe, and that stillness, that unshakable emotional anchor, tells her everything she needs to know. You are not reactive. You are not afraid of emotion. You command the emotional space by simply not being pulled into her whirlwind. And the more chaotic she becomes, the more powerful your calmness feels, until eventually she begins to calm herself. For you. 20. The unspoken boundary is more powerful than words. You don't need to tell her what your boundaries are when your silence speaks for you. When she crosses a line and you simply go quiet, pull back, and change your energy, you're teaching her how to treat you without lecturing. That shift in vibe is felt deep in her nervous system. It tells her, you just lost access to something valuable. And from that moment on, every emotional move she makes is an attempt to get that access back. 21. Minimal words equals maximal tension. Tension isn't built through action, it's built through restraint. When she expects a romantic monologue and you give her a one-word reply and a smirk, she leans in. When she expects comfort and you give her silence, she questions herself. That questioning builds tension, and tension in her emotional world equals desire. The man who uses few words creates the most emotional noise in her mind. That's the paradox of masculine silence. It echoes louder than talking ever could. 22. She'll fill your silence with her imagination. When you go silent, she doesn't assume nothing. She assumes everything. She'll imagine you're talking to other women, that you've lost interest, that she messed up. And all of those thoughts create self-imposed emotional pressure. You didn't insult her. You didn't accuse her. You didn't even say a word. But now, she's spiraling. Because your silence leaves a blank canvas, and her mind is the brush. You control the entire emotional landscape simply by stepping back and letting her own mind drive the chaos. 23. The mystery of what is he thinking. When a man's too obvious, he becomes boring, predictable. But when she can't tell what you're thinking, feeling, or planning, her emotions never get to rest. Every encounter becomes a puzzle. Every moment becomes a test. And because she can't complete the pattern, she becomes addicted to trying. You control her emotional focus by never giving her the full picture. That's not manipulation, it's selective exposure. She earns your emotional transparency with time. Until then, you let her wonder. 24. You're not cold, you're composed. Some will confuse your silence for coldness, but she will feel the truth. You're not cold, you're centered. You're not ignoring her. You're respecting your own energy. You're not distant, you're discerning. And that discernment is what makes her want to earn your emotional investment. Every man who gives her attention for free fades from memory. But the one who made her work for every smile, every moment of softness, he stays in her mind. because he taught her that his presence is a privilege. 25. The rare energy she didn't expect. When she meets you, she doesn't expect the silence. She expects flattery, eagerness, and attention. But your lack of those things, that's what changes everything. You're rare. You're composed. You don't dance for her affection. You exist, quietly, confidently, and powerfully. And that energy is unforgettable. She'll tell her friends about you. She'll stalk your social media. She'll dream about you. Not because of what you did, but because of what you didn't do. 26. Your vibe speaks even in your absence. Even when you're not around, the emotional footprint you left lingers. That calm stare, that pause before answering, that moment you chose to walk away instead of argue. It all plays in her head like a loop, and the more she replays it, the more emotionally attached she becomes. You didn't text, you didn't beg, you didn't explain, you just left her in a space of reflection, and in that space she attached her emotions to your absence. 27. She mirrors your silence. At first, she resists it, but eventually she mirrors it. She starts speaking slower, moving softer, matching your calm tone. Why? Because your emotional energy is contagious. And without saying a word, you've reprogrammed her behavior. You didn't demand change, you embodied it. And that embodiment speaks to her subconscious. She follows your emotional lead, even when her words pretend otherwise. 28. You become her standard. The silent man becomes the reference point. Every man she meets after you feels too much, too loud, too eager, too talkative. She doesn't even know why, but no one feels the way you did. You became her emotional blueprint. Not because of what you said, but because of what you held back. Your silence wasn't absence, it was depth. Once she felt it, she realized most men are just noise. 29. The less you need, the more she wants. She feels it. You don't need her validation. You don't need her attention. You're already full, already calm, already composed. And that's what makes her want to give it all to you. Women don't crave men who need them. They crave men who choose them without emotional desperation. Your silence communicates choice, not dependence. And choice is the ultimate emotional trigger. 30. Silence isn't empty. It's full of control. In the end, silence is not the absence of emotion, it's the presence of mastery. Every moment you choose to withhold words, you gain power. Every time you observe instead of react, you take the lead. Every quiet glance, every calm exit, every still moment, it all becomes part of the emotional movie she replays when she's alone. And when she lies in bed thinking about you, it won't be your words she remembers, it'll be the emotional impact of your silence.